Tonight I'm going to talk about Flask and Python to build web applications, and what I hope to be let you grow your applications beyond what is possible with the example app that most people have probably seen with Flask. There's nothing wrong with the example app. It gets you up and going well. It's a good hello world kind of example to get you to display something in a browser right away. But it does limit you if you grow from there into kinds of apps that you can build and makes things more unnecessarily complex. So let's get started and talk about where we're going to go and how we're going to get there. So I've built an application, a series of applications, examples that will get us from the basic Hello World app, which we can see right here. And I keep doing that. I click on the presenter. And I hope you all can read that with Flask type applications. Now, what this does is it creates a Flask, it imports Flask, and then it creates a Flask app instance, which is what runs the server and would answer any questions or answer any requests from like GUnicorn or MicroWhiskey for a Whiskey type Python application. And then it provides a single URL endpoint that was going to return the string hello world. Now, this endpoint is going to respond to the home URL of the web server that gets run. Now, in order to run this, I have previously installed Flask and a couple of other tools. That also has SQL Alchemy in there, which we'll get to later when we have a database to use. So we have Flask installed, and I have started my virtual environment, my Python virtual environment, which I used PyEnv to build. Now, this application, Python, this version of Python, or these examples were built with Python version 3.9.6, so a very recent version of Python. And that's part of why I'm using a virtual environment, so that it doesn't interfere with the rest of the Python installations that I have on my computer. Now, if I run this application, I have to export a couple of variables. So I'll do export Flask app equals my app.py. So that tells Flask where to find the app and the Flask environment development. And just because I'd like to see some stuff if I have a problem, export Flask debug equals 1. That tells Flask to run in debug mode. Now I'm going to run the application with the Flask built-in web server. Now this is strictly for development purposes, which is perfectly fine for that. But you don't want to run this this way in production. You would use something like GUnicorn or MicroWhiskey behind Nginx or Apache to actually do production level work with a Python web server. But let's run this and see what happens. So if I run this application, it starts the debugger up, or it starts the Flask server running. And you can see I've already been here before. And it just serves up hello world, which is what we'd expect. I surf to the home directory, and if I go somewhere else, I get a not found because I have the only route that I've provided is the home route. And that's what I get back. This little piece of code, which you've probably all seen, this is using Flask 2.0, which has these app get methods and all of the HTTP methods spelled out: get, post, put. We'll only be using get for this demonstration. So what this does is it associates this function with this root, and I return a string, which is what I was expecting. It's just the server is going to return this string to the browser, and the browser is going to do its best that it can to render that string in the browser space. Now, of course, we could send HTML back, but for this simple example, this is good enough to get up and running with Hello World. Now, the problem with this app is that, one, if you want to expand, the Flask app instance is only available in my app, the main application. So to add additional routes, I can do that, app get somewhere return somewhere. Oh yes, we forgot our little colon there. There we go. Oh, and we have to give it a function to actually call. There we go. Now, Flask, because it's running in development mode, it's recompiling the app as I built it. So if I now go to that endpoint, we are somewhere. Now that's fine. The problem is that in order to grow your app, and web applications can have many roots, many roots, I will have to keep adding roots to the main application, which is going to mean all of my business logic, all of my routing, all of my presentation is going to have to come into this main application somehow. And that could make this file really quite large and unwieldy and hard to continue to develop with. So how can we improve that? Well, let's go to another version of this app. Example 2. And now I'm going to make this repository with all these apps is in a GitHub repository or public GitHub repository on my GitHub account, which I'll make available. So let's take a look at this. Well, example 2, you can see that I've now created an app file folder, and because it's got the underbar init underbar, it's a package. So I have an app application package. I still have my app program, but now instead of building the Flask app instance directly, it's importing a function called create app from the app package. Then I use that function to actually create the app instance, and then I still have my app get hello world endpoint. Well, let's take a look at what's inside the app package. All of the work actually happens inside of the init, the underbar init, which means that importing anything from this package will execute this code. So what happens is I import my Flask module here, and then I create this function create app, which inside of that function, I create my app instance based on the file name, which is a perfectly fine way of doing this. And then I return that app instance. Now, the reason to do this is because I now have very explicit control of where the application instance is available and how it's created and when it's created and all of those things. As you can see by here, it's created when I call create app, and I have my app instance. Now, this might seem like extraneous work because let's run this. Let's change our directory to directory 2. My exports, my environment variables still work fine because nothing else has changed. Now, somewhere doesn't work because that wasn't part of this example 2. But if I go to the home page, it works exactly the same. I get a hello world. So the functionality is no different, but the construction of the app is on the road to becoming much better because we have this control over the creation of the app instance and anything else that's involved in the app instance. And that will become apparent, hopefully, if I do a good job, that will become apparent later on in the later examples, especially when we get to where we're going to use a database to hold content for an application. Now, as you can see, this Hello World app is not very interesting. It's just a string. I'm not even returning any HTML or any styling information. So let's do that. Let's stop our application. Example 3, we'll show that first, and then I'll show you what's going on in there. So we'll change to example 3, Flask run. Now this is a much more involved website, clearly. This is an HTML framework built on Bootstrap that well, it's for free. You certainly can borrow it. You can get it from here, Start Bootstrap. I'm using it here, which it's open source. I can use it as I see fit, which is great. I've actually used a version of this on my own personal website. So if I shrink this down a little bit, you'll see that the menu bar shows up, and because it's Bootstrap, it is a responsive site, so it changes what it does based on its size. So portfolio, it just navigates around the page. It opens up some dialog boxes, some Bootstrap modal dialogues with some lorem ipsum text in there. This allows us to navigate around. This is a single page web application, so it lets us navigate around in here. It has a nice footer that's always present. The portfolio takes us up here to this page. Now the content is something I added. And here, I've added some content in an accordion. This is a Bootstrap accordion. And I've taken out, if you remember, this main page has all of this portfolio stuff. It has the About section. It has the Contact Me section. But the content page does not have any of that. It has the header, the I guess what you'd call the banner with the Start Bootstrap stuff. It has my content, and it has the footer stuff. But the rest of the content has been removed, and I've inserted my own content in the form of these accordions. So let's take a look at that, what's involved in doing that. Well, now we have the same application, except now from Flask, we're importing render template. Now this allows us to use HTML templates in the form of Jinja templates, which, or it will render HTML to the browser, and it has the capability of using Jinja, the templating engine, to do dynamic content. In this case, I'm just using straight HTML, no Jinja in there. Now again, I'm importing the app instance I'm importing the create app function, and then I use that to create the app instance, the Flask app instance. Now I have two URLs. I have the original URL, but now instead of sending back a string, I'm calling render template, and I'm referencing index.html. And for content, which has its own URL endpoint /content, again, I'm calling render template, but now I'm calling a different HTML file. So let's see how that looks like. So inside of my app, I still have my import the Flask module, create app function, which creates the app instance, and then returns that to the caller, which we saw in the my app instance. But now I've added two additional files, or two different folders, static and templates. Now Flask will automatically look for static files in the static folder, and it will look for templates in the templates folder. Now let's take a look at the index. As you can see, give this full screen. This is using Bootstrap, the latest version of Bootstrap 5.13, I think, which I'm getting from a CDN. Where is that? Yeah. And then I've got a couple of my own styles in there, or it came with a few styles. And then there's a great deal of a boilerplate, Bootstrap boilerplate, to build up the nice page with navigation and the banner and the portfolio. Actually, go there. Let's take a look at that. So these are the portfolio items. There's portfolio. Each one has its own section. Portfolio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then there's an about section, and then the contact section, the footers, and then it has all these modals. These are the modal sections, which are hidden by default, but which, when you click on these things, Bootstrap will pop up for you. So each of those modals has its own section with a lot of Bootstrap code in there, some content. Like it has the file name that it's using for the image. And then we finally come to a close with the JavaScript that goes along with Bootstrap and some custom JavaScript for the site. Now, a couple of things to notice here. The core theme is in the static folder. Now I'm using the URL for, and I'm saying static, and then in the static folder, I'm going to get this styles CSS file. Now there's a reason to do this rather than just have a hard coded. I could certainly hard code the path to the static file, but the reason to put it in URL for static is that I can move these around as the site develops. I can move this around and not have to search, track down all of the things, all of the hard-coded URL paths. I can just find them and manage them because they are being programmatically controlled. Because this is saying, oh, wherever I'm coming from, it's based on the essentially for me right now it's the localhost domain. But if you were to deploy this into production, it would be whatever that domain is, the static folder under that with this file name. This allows me to more easily control how the static files and templates, for that matter, are accessed. So, for instance, my app, these template files, I don't have a path defined for them. I'm just saying index. Well, Flask knows how to find this file in that templates directory. So let's take a look at the content one. So that's a relatively big and fairly complex HTML page. Now, if you remember, the content page has the same header, the same navigation, the same banner, the footer stuff, all of which was complex enough, but it's missing the content part. So let's take a look at that. So all I did was I replicated index HTML, created the context page, and you can see I've got the same boilerplate stuff here, all of the same boilerplate that I had before. But now I've taken out the portfolio, the about stuff, and I've put in my own content. Now that content is again bootstrap stuff that I'm creating an accordion, and I'm putting in my own data in that accordion. Again, lorem ipsum text, and so not very exciting content by far. But it's you can see that each accordion, relatively big block of content, then the footer, and then the JavaScript. So I've had to replicate, in order to get the second page, the content page, I've had to replicate a great deal of the index page, the boilerplate that actually gets my page up and running. So that's not great. If I suddenly had hundreds of pages, maybe even thousands of pages, especially if your content is going to end up being dynamic, how can you manage that? I don't really want to manage that with each of the template files having so much boilerplate code. Well, Flask will help you do that. So let's get there.